Jungles are fascinating places, teeming with unique animals, exotic plants, and the occasional historical treasure. However, some discoveries can be so bizarre or downright terrifying that you might find yourself running for the exit and calling for help. From the world's largest flower to trees that seem to walk, here are 20 of the strangest things ever found in the jungle. Number 20. The Lost World of the Maya. As most gardeners will know, plants can grow quickly and take over before you know it. So, it's probably not surprising that an entire civilization could be hidden in a forest, completely unknown unless you had the right technology. Archaeologists now know for sure that an entire Mayan civilization, with a kingdom, terraced fields, roads, fortifications, and reservoirs, exists in the middle of the jungle in Guatemala's Tikal, thanks to LiDAR technology. LiDAR stands for light detecting and ranging, and it relies on planes flying above the jungle with laser beams to create a map of the surface contours hiding under the forest canopy. This information paints a pretty telling picture of what used to be there before the forest took over. So far, they've covered 800 square miles with this technology, revealing 60,000 previously unknown structures, just a mere fraction of what was once Maya territory. The Maya thrived for around a millennium, from 1000 BC, and became the preeminent Mesoamerican civilization. Alongside creating this exciting hidden world, they developed a writing system, calendar, and intelligent astronomical charts. Number 19. Ceria. Ceria is often called the eighth wonder of the world, the palace of the sky, and the Ceria fortress. It is definitely all of those things. This historical monument in Sri Lanka is one of the country's most valuable treasures, situated between the towns of Dambulla and Habarana in the central Mat-Ale district. Even though it's nestled between two towns in the middle of nature, it is definitely not easy to miss. This massive rock towers above the surrounding jungle at 660 feet, 200 meters, high. For obvious reasons, it's a popular tourist attraction and has gained even more fame since UNESCO declared it the eighth wonder of the world. Ceria is no ordinary rock. It's an ancient rock fortress accompanied by the remains of a network of reservoirs and gardens. The gardens themselves are unique treasures, thought to be some of the oldest landscaped gardens in the world. The stories surrounding the rock are as interesting as the rock itself. In 476 CE, Sri Lanka was ruled by King Datusana. He had two sons, Magalan and Kasayapa, with Magalan being next in line. However, Kasayapa wasn't happy about this and conspired with the army commander to overthrow the king. He took the throne by force, imprisoned his father, and drove his brother into exile. Afraid of losing his throne, the new king relocated the royal seat to Ceria and built a palace to enjoy its 360-degree views. His brother, the rightful heir, later returned to defeat him. Number 18. Hero Onoda. Even if you're not familiar with the details of World War II, you may recognize the name Hero Onoda. Hero was an Imperial Japanese Army intelligence officer who fought in World War II but didn't surrender when the war ended in August 1945. Instead, he spent almost 3 decades hiding in the mountains of the Philippines, distrusting outside information like leaflets explaining that the war was over. It wasn't until 1974, after several failed attempts, that he was finally coaxed out. His former commander traveled from Japan to relieve him from duty by order of Emperor Showa. Hiro began his time as a Japanese holdout with 3 fellow soldiers. They engaged in shootouts with local police and carried out guerrilla activities. When they saw a leaflet saying Japan had surrendered in October 1945 and that they should come down from the mountains, they thought it was just Allied propaganda. One member of the group surrendered in 1950, another was shot and killed by a search party, and the final soldier, aside from Hiro, was shot and killed by local police. Hiro met a Japanese man traveling around the world, Norio Suzuki, and told him he was awaiting orders from a superior officer. This led to his former commander providing those orders, bringing Hiro's nearly 30-year vigil to an end. Number 17. Congo Basin tropical peatland. There's no denying that the climate is in a bad way. We must act now to ensure we have a safe home for future generations. In 2017, researchers discovered something groundbreaking with substantial environmental implications, a discovery that must be protected at all costs. They identified the largest tropical peatland in the world, hidden in the heart of the Congo Basin. This area, called Cuvette Centrale, has the largest carbon storage in Africa, with about 30 billion tons of carbon dioxide trapped beneath the surface. These peatlands cover the Republic of Congo and the Democratic Republic of Congo, playing a vital role in our battle against climate change. Peatlands are ecosystems with accumulated peat soil, which forms over hundreds of years from decayed vegetation. The Congo's peatlands are thought to be over 10,000 years old and several feet deep. They store more carbon than forests, meaning that if they were drained, 3 years' worth of global fossil fuel emissions would be released into the atmosphere. Number 16. Brazilian grape tree. We all know that fruit grows on trees, but it usually doesn't grow on the trunk of the tree. The jabuticaba, or Brazilian grape tree, is an exception to the rule. This slow-growing evergreen tree produces purple-black fruit with white pulp directly on the tree trunk. You can eat the fruit raw or use it to make jam, jelly, juice, and even wine. The tree grows up to 50 feet, 15 meters, tall and has salmon-pink leaves that turn green as they mature. It thrives in tropical and subtropical environments and is native to Brazil, Bolivia, Argentina, Peru, and Paraguay. The fruit is a thick-skinned berry with sweet, rosy pink or white flesh that contains 4 large seeds. These trees have been cultivated since pre-Columbian times and are now a commercial crop in Brazil. Grafted plants can bear fruit in around 5 years, but a seed-grown tree may take 1 or 2 decades to start producing its delicious fruit. This tree is so important in Brazil that it even appears as a charge on the coat of arms of the city of Contagem in Minas Gerais, Brazil. Now it's time for today's topic. We were sent this image with an interesting story, and we'd like your opinion on it. Apparently, a village had been taunted by a giant bat, one so large that if you see it in the jungle, you'd immediately ask for help. It was keeping people up at night and they were terrified. So, a group of villagers banded together one evening to hunt it down. What they found, however, wasn't a bat but a giant colugo, an arboreal gliding mammal. It was absolutely massive, and now the villagers can finally sleep easy. How big do you think that colugo is? Or do you see something else other than a colugo in the picture? Comment down below and let us know your thoughts about what we just showed on screen. With that said, let's keep things moving. Number 15. The Amazon's boiling river. Forests can hide some truly incredible things, and one such marvel is the world's largest thermal river. It's basically a hot section of the river in Amazonian Peru, spanning 4 miles long and 80 feet at its widest point. What's remarkable is that it's so hot it can boil animals alive. A boiling river? Sounds like it must be a geothermal surface, right? The issue with that statement is that it's non-volcanic, and the nearest active volcano is over 430 miles, 700 kilometers, away. Instead, this river is one of 3 non-volcanic rivers in the area, including a thermal freshwater stream and a salty thermal stream, both of which are much smaller than the boiling river. The river is fed by near-boiling and boiling hot springs, and it even features thermal waterfalls along its length. Animals have been spotted falling in and being boiled alive as they travel down the stream. They try to swim, but their flesh cooks from the inside out until they eventually succumb. According to experts, the river boils due to fault-fed hot springs. Geoscientist Andres Russo, who studied the river, explained, just as we have blood running through our veins and arteries, the earth has hot water running through its cracks and fault. Number 14. Walking trees. Okay, so walking trees don't actually walk, but wouldn't it be cool if they did? Since we don't know whether a tree makes a sound when it falls and no one's around to hear it, we can't say for sure if a tree might also walk when no one's looking. Trust me, I'm a scientist. In the case of the walking palm, Socratia exoryza, a palm native to the rainforests of tropical and central South America, it doesn't walk, but it is unique. This palm can grow up to 25 meters, 82 feet, tall, and has strange stilt roots. These roots grow like a tripod and are visible above the surface, unlike most tree roots. Some suggest they grow this way to allow the tree to thrive in swampy parts of the forest, but this theory has been debated. Others believe the roots provide protection, allowing the palm to right itself if a falling tree damages it as a seedling. These stilt roots also offer incredible benefits, allowing the tree to grow in areas with lots of debris, such as dead logs, and to grow upwards to reach sunlight without increasing its stem diameter. Number 13. Stone spheres in Costa Rica. Stone spheres are definitely not something you'd expect to discover in dense forest. Yet, workers clearing jungle land in the Diquis Valley of western Costa Rica found just that. The workers, employed by the United Fruit Company, you might want to Google that one, were clearing land for a banana plantation when they stumbled upon the round stones. Some were only a few inches in diameter, while others were as wide as 7 feet and weighed up to 16 tons. No one initially knew where they were from, how they were made, what they were for, or how they ended up in the forest. Scientific studies began in the 1930s and 1940s, and today around 300 spheres have been found. Archaeologists say the stones aren't perfectly round but are incredibly smooth and were likely handmade by ancient people from the Diquis Valley. Crafted from a hard rock called granodiorite, similar to granite, the spheres are believed to have been made between 200 BCE and the late 1500 CE. Researchers theorize that tool marks left on the stones indicate how they were shaped, and their smooth surfaces suggest polishing with leather or sand. However, their purpose remains a mystery. Some believe the stones were compasses, grave markers, or status symbol. Number 12. The world's largest flower. The Rafflesia arnoldii, also known as the giant padma, is a flowering plant famous for producing the largest flowers on Earth. That's an impressive feat for a plant, but it's not its only claim to fame. It also smells like decaying flesh. So, it's probably not something you'd want to pop in a vase on your kitchen counter. The giant padma is the national flower of Indonesia and is recognized as a rare species. It has no observable leaves, stems, or roots and grows much like fungi, with thread-like strands to obtain water and nutrients. Its reddish-brown coloring makes it easy to spot, though you'll likely notice the stench before you see the flower. The Rafflesia arnoldii flower grows to around 3.3 feet, 1 meter, in diameter and can weigh as much as 24 pounds, 11 kilograms. It grows from massive 12-inch buds resembling cabbages with maroon or brown coloring. You won't find these flowers in your local fields. They grow in rainforests and prefer the darkest parts, thriving under host plant species that block out sunlight. Number 11. The Lost Stone Head of Guatemala. Over 50 years ago, the Viner family discovered a massive stone head in the jungles of Guatemala. It had Caucasian features like thin lips and a large nose, which were not consistent with any pre-Hispanic races of America. This was a monumental discovery but was quickly forgotten. Years later, in 1987, Dr. Oscar Rafael Padilla Lara received a photo of the head taken by the family in the 1950s and a description of its location. The photo and story were published in a newsletter, catching the attention of author David Hatcher Childress, who sought out Dr. Padilla for more information. Dr. Padilla visited the site only to find that revolutionaries had destroyed the head a decade earlier. It had been used as target practice, leaving it without a mouth, nose, or eyes. All Dr. Padilla could do was measure the head's height. Interest in the stone head resurfaced when filmmakers for Revelations of the Mayas 2012 and beyond used the photo to claim past civilizations had contact with extraterrestrials. Many now believe the head was simply a publicity stunt, despite the region's fame for stone heads created by the Olmec civilization between 1400 and 400 BCE. Number 10. The Lost City of the Monkey God. The Lost City of the Monkey God, also known as the White City, was a set of ancient ruins in the Mesquitia rainforest in Honduras that was only recently discovered in 2012. You might wonder why ancient ruins are only being discovered now, but this rainforest is one of the largest protected areas in the country. As a result, it's also one of the least explored, especially since it covers 350,000 hectares or 865,000 acres. The ruins of the massive urban settlement were thought to represent the legendary Ciudad Blanca, also known as the White City. One part of the area has been called the City of the Jaguar, and researchers are exploring the diversity of the area to uncover its secrets. So far, it has been an incredible journey. They found 183 different plant species belonging to 68 families, 14 of which are threatened and 2 critically endangered. 3 new species were also found that had never been seen in Honduras. Other noteworthy finds included 246 butterfly and moth species, a longhorn beetle spotted for the first time in Honduras, and the tiger beetle, which was thought to be extinct. A large tarantula was also discovered, marking the first documented record north of Nicaragua. Birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and mammals were identified in the area, many of which are of huge conservation importance. It's clear that the lost city of the monkey god was an incredible gift that just keeps on giving. Number 9. Zombie fungus. If your friends think you're fussy for not liking mushrooms, you're about to have a compelling reason why fungus might not be your thing. In the jungles of Brazil, a type of fungus exists that takes over ants' minds and makes them do things that ultimately lead to their death. It's known as the zombie ant fungus. When it infects an ant, the fungus travels through its body, consuming all its nutrients and taking over its mind. Over about a week, the infected ant feels an uncontrollable urge to leave the safety of its nest and travel to the nearest plant stem it can find. As it climbs up the plant stem, it stops at around 9.5 inches, 25 centimeters, above the ground, the ideal humidity and temperature for the fungus to thrive. The ant is then forced to lock its mandibles onto the leaf, and the fungus grows a long stalk through the ant's head with a bulbous end full of spores. The infected ant clamps onto a leaf above its colony, ensuring that the fungal spores fall onto its family members, spreading the infection. The cycle then begins again, continuing the fungus's sinister life cycle. Number 8. Peanut bugs. 2 guesses as to why peanut bugs are called peanut bugs. They look like peanuts. They're also often called peanut-headed bugs, lanternflies, or peanut-headed lanternflies. Researchers aren't 100% sure why they have a prominent bulbous feature on their heads, but some believe males use it to attract females for breeding. It might also help scare away predators, as it resembles features seen on snakes or lizards. Even though their exact purpose remains a mystery, some myths about peanut bugs have been debunked. For instance, people once believed their large heads could light up at night, but that's not true. Costa Rican locals also thought the bulbous part of the head was full of poison and that their bite could be fatal, but this too is false. Peanut bugs are harmless. They don't prey on other insects and face few threats themselves. These herbivores feed on plants in dry or tropical forests across Central and South America. They're easily identifiable by their peanut-like shape, yellow-brown coloring with black spots, and hard shell. If you spot one, it'll likely be hanging out on a tree trunk. Number 7. Amazon Stonehenge. The Amazon is full of weird and wonderful discoveries, so when something now known as the Amazon Stonehenge was uncovered, it wasn't entirely surprising. This megalithic stone circle, found inside the Solstice Archaeological Park in Amapá State, Brazil, is a sight to behold. The circle consists of 127 granite blocks, each standing up to 4 meters, 13 feet, tall, and spans 30 meters in diameter on a hilltop by the Rio Grande riverbanks. What makes it even more fascinating is that some of the stones are believed to align with the solstices, indicating advanced knowledge of astronomy by the ancient builders. The site also includes evidence of ceremonial activities, such as pottery fragments and fire pits, suggesting it was a gathering place for rituals or celebrations. Researchers have noted that the precision in placing the stones might have been significant for tracking the changing seasons or marking agricultural cycle. This adds to the theory that it served not only spiritual but also practical purposes for the community. Archaeologists believe indigenous people built the site for burial, ceremonial, or astronomical purposes. However, much like Stonehenge in Britain, the exact purpose of the stones remains a mystery. Carbon dating of pottery shards around the site suggests the stones date back 500 to 2,000 years. Whether the blocks were moved to the site or found locally hasn't been widely studied, but their alignment and purpose are intriguing. The Amazon Stonehenge is another reminder of the rich and mysterious history hidden within the rainforest. Number 6. Poison dart frog. If you see this in the jungle, you're definitely going to need to ask for help. The poison dart frog might be beautiful with its vibrant colors, but you shouldn't get too close. They're yellow, copper, red, gold, and green hues serve as a warning to predators. These frogs produce alkaloids in their skin glands, which act as a potent chemical defense. The toxins work by interfering with nerve and muscle function, often leading to paralysis or death in predators that dare to attack. Indigenous tribes have historically used the frog's toxins to coat the tips of their hunting darts, giving them their iconic name. Interestingly, the potency of their toxins depends on their diet in the wild, as they consume alkaloid-rich ants and mites to produce their chemical arsenal. In captivity, where their diet is different, they lose their toxic properties entirely. Their striking appearance isn't just for show, they certainly need it. Out of the 170-plus known species, none grow larger than 2.4 inches or weigh more than an ounce. Poison dart frogs live in humid, tropical environments in Central and South America, mostly in rainforests, on trees, or near the ground. Scientists have been curious about their toxins, which have been studied for potential medicinal uses. One chemical found in their skin is 200 times more potent than morphine, but the difference between a therapeutic dose and a fatal dose is too close to make it viable for medicine. Their beauty hides their dangerous nature, making them a fascinating yet fearsome inhabitant of the jungle. Number 5. Amazonian giant centipede. Amazonian giant centipedes, also called Peruvian giant yellow-leg centipedes, are the largest centipede species in the world. They tend to measure about 12 inches or 20 centimeters and live throughout South America and even in the Caribbean. Before you see this centipede, you might imagine it's an innocent creature feasting on leaves and minding its own business, but it's not. Not only is it big, but it also eats mammals, reptiles, amphibians, basically whatever it can get its many legs on. If it can overpower it, it becomes dinner. The centipede is known for its aggressive hunting style, ambushing its prey with remarkable speed and precision. Using its powerful mandibles, it injects venom almost instantaneously, paralyzing its victim in moments. Its segmented body and countless legs give it incredible mobility, allowing it to navigate dense jungle terrain and even climb trees in search of food. This makes it a top predator in its ecosystem, feared by almost all smaller creatures it encounters. Oh, and did we mention it's venomous? Not only is this creepy crawly terrifying to look at, but it can also kill you. There's been at least one reported death linked to its venom, a 4-year-old girl in Venezuela in 2014. She died after an Amazonian giant centipede, hiding in an open soda can, bit her. The venom contains a nasty toxin that allows them to kill animals 15 times their size in just 30 seconds. It targets the cardiovascular, nervous, and respiratory systems, meaning that animals really don't stand a chance. Scientists are currently working on an antivenom to counter this dangerous predator. Number 4. The lost tribes. Many things we find in the jungle or rainforest may seem strange to us, but that's only because we're not living with them every day. They wouldn't seem so strange if they fit with our ideals of what normal is. So, when you find groups of self-sufficient people living in rainforests, their way of life might seem strange to us, but not to them. The Amazon is the largest rainforest in the world. Most of us know that. But what you may not know is that it's the ancestral home of about 1 million indigenous people. These indigenous groups form around 400 tribes, each with its own culture, territory, and language. Among the uncontacted tribes, some have lived for centuries without any interaction with the modern world, relying solely on traditional knowledge passed down through generations. They use intricate systems of oral storytelling to preserve their history and cultural identity. Despite their isolation, these tribes demonstrate an impressive understanding of the rainforest's flora and fauna, utilizing plants for food, medicine, and even spiritual practices. Their unique way of life serves as a reminder of humanity's deep connection with nature. Most of these tribes have had contact with outsiders before, but a few are described as uncontactable because they've had no contact at all. A few of these tribes are nomadic and prefer to live deep in the forest, where they hunt and gather. However, the majority live in small villages by rivers. They grow vegetables, hunt, fish, and either make weapons or use shotguns likely obtained from outsiders. Many of these tribes also have access to Western healthcare and education if they choose to use it. Number 3. The mega-city of Angkor in Cambodia. The temple complex at Angkor Wat in Cambodia is already a massive tourist attraction. This large religious monument appears on the Cambodian flag and forms part of the Angkor Archaeological Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. However, cutting-edge laser technology may make it even more significant. This technology has allowed experts to reveal vast medieval cities buried under the forest floor. Some are thought to be even bigger than Cambodia's capital, Phnom Penh, which spans 679 square kilometers and is home to 2.282 million people. Beneath the dense canopy, researchers uncovered intricate road networks, canals, and even evidence of sophisticated urban planning, showcasing the ingenuity of the Khmer Empire. They also identified long-lost reservoirs that once sustained this thriving civilization, pointing to advanced water management systems. The hidden cities are believed to have been hubs of cultural and economic activity, potentially connected to the greater Angkor complex. Researchers estimate the hidden cities to be 900 to 1,400 years old, situated near the ancient temple complex in the northeast. The findings, published in the Journal of Archaeological Science, could be the start of something huge. Australian archaeologist Dr. Damien Evans said this discovery could revolutionize our understanding of Southeast Asian history. It's hard to believe there are entire cities under the forest floor that remained unknown until now. A 2015 aerial study using LiDAR technology covered 734 square miles and uncovered details that were previously unimaginable. Number 2. Tanabell Rex. Rainforests are so dense and expansive that we may never uncover everything living within them. However, one thing we have found, and might wish we hadn't, is the Tanabell Rex, a type of leech. This leech feeds on the mucous membranes of mammals' upper respiratory tracts and even targets humans. The species was first discovered when it was found feasting on the mucous membrane of a girl who had just finished bathing in Peru's upper Amazon. Its name, which translates to Tyrant Leech King, reflects its formidable feeding habits and the discomfort it causes its hosts. Scientists have noted that its teeth, which are arranged in a single row, are incredibly sharp, allowing it to attach firmly to delicate tissues. What makes this leech particularly unsettling is its resilience. It can survive for weeks without a meal, waiting for the perfect host to latch onto. Its presence in rainforests highlights the hidden dangers lurking within these dense ecosystems. It's closely related to a similar species in Taiwan called Dinomaxilla ferox. Unlike other leeches that drop off after feeding, this one doesn't. It remains attached to its host for days, if not weeks, and can grow up to almost 3 inches or 7 centimeters long. When people end up with this leech in their nasal cavity, they often experience intense headache. Because the leeches are so small, you might not even notice they're there right away. They'll continue to feed on your blood until they've had enough, or until you manage to remove them. Number 1. Swamp Ghost Plane. The swamp ghost is not as terrifying as its name suggests. It's not a spooky ghost lurking in a swamp, but a Boeing B-17E flying fortress. However, depending on your perspective, that might still be terrifying. This plane was piloted during World War II by Captain Frederick Eaton Jr., who ditched it in a swamp in Papua New Guinea after an attack on Japanese-occupied ships in New Britain. While flying over Rabaul in New Britain, the plane was intercepted, ran out of fuel, and was forced to land in a remote swamp. The crew faced daunting challenges as they navigated through harsh jungle terrain, dealing with dangerous wildlife and limited supplies. For years, the plane sat untouched, becoming part of the swamp's ecosystem, with moss and vines overtaking its structure. Its remarkable preservation in the swamp intrigued aviation enthusiasts, who saw it as a rare time capsule from the war. Fortunately, everyone on board survived and had to make a long journey to safety. The aircraft was rediscovered decades later, in 1971, in the Ajimbo Swamp, where it became known as the Swamp Ghost. In 1989, the Travis Air Force Base Heritage Center made plans to recover it, and it was finally salvaged in 2006. It took 3 to 4 years to get clearance to import it to the United States, but it now resides in Hangar 79 on Ford Island, awaiting restoration. Forests are undeniably more fascinating than they appear from the outside, like stepping into an entirely different world. Have you ever ventured into a forest and stumbled upon something unusual or extraordinary? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to check out some of our other amazing content showing up on screen right now. See you next time.